12 Venezuelan Su-30 fighters surround USS Nitze destroyer. Venezuela loses 8 jets in 4 minutes. November 19, 2025. Caribbean Sea, 42 miles off Venezuelan coast. A $1.8 billion Arleigh Burke-class destroyer cuts through calm waters. USS Nitze, 9,200 tons of American naval power. Crew of 380. Mission: routine freedom of navigation patrol. What happened next became the fastest air engagement in Caribbean history. At 2:47 p.m., radar screens light up. 12 contacts. Venezuelan Air Force Su-30 Mk2 flanker fighters, Russian-made, $50 million each, approaching at 580 miles. Range, 38 miles, and closing. The Venezuelan formation splits into 3 groups. 4 jets take high altitude, 4 go medium, 4 drop low, skimming just 200 feet above waves. Classic pincer formation. Textbook aggression tactics. Venezuelan command broadcasts on emergency frequency. Their message: USS Nitze violated territorial waters. Leave immediately or face consequences. The destroyer's position: international waters, 42 miles offshore. Venezuelan territorial limit: 12 miles. The facts don't support their claim, but 12 fighter jets don't care about maritime law. What's your weapon of choice in this situation? Type A for immediate defensive action. Type B for diplomatic communication first. Commander Sarah Mitchell stands in Combat Information Center. 15 years naval experience. Graduated top of her class at Naval War College. She's faced Iranian fast boats. Tracked Chinese submarines. Never 12 fighters at once. Her decision window: 6 minutes before fighters enter weapons range. The Nitze carries 96 vertical launch cells, 64 loaded with SM-2 surface-to-air missiles. Each missile, Mach 3.5 speed, 90-mile range, 98% hit probability. 32 cells hold Tomahawk cruise missiles. The destroyer also mounts 2 Phalanx CIWS systems, close-in weapon systems, 4,500 rounds per minute, last line of defense. Venezuelan jets close to 22 miles, their radar systems active. Targeting. Weapons officer reports missile lock warnings, 4 separate locks. The Su-30s carry R-77 air-to-air missiles, 50-mile range. Active radar homing, designed to kill aircraft, never tested against warships. The Venezuelan lead pilot believes his advantage is numbers. 12 against 1. Fighter jets versus destroyer. Speed versus firepower. He's counting on American hesitation. International incident concerns. Political fallout. He's betting Washington won't authorize engagement. But what he didn't know was protocol changed 3 months earlier. After Chinese J-11 fighters buzzed USS Rafael Peralta in South China Sea, Pacific Fleet updated rules of engagement. Hostile weapons lock equals imminent threat. Commanders authorized to respond. No Washington approval needed. Mitchell doesn't hesitate. At 2:53 p.m., Nitze's Aegis combat system activates. Most advanced naval weapons system on Earth. SPY-1D radar tracks all 12 targets simultaneously. Computer calculates firing solutions in 1.8 seconds. 4 SM-2 missiles assigned to high-altitude group, 4 to medium group, 4 to low-altitude group. The system holds nothing back. Vertical launch cells erupt. White smoke engulfs forward deck. 12 missiles leap skyward in 8 seconds. Each missile accelerates to Mach 3.5. Covering 22 miles takes 90 seconds. The Venezuelan pilots see launch plumes. Their radar warning receivers scream. They have options: break formation, deploy countermeasures, dive for wave cover. They choose wrong. They maintain course, thinking American missiles won't actually hit, thinking this is warning shots, thinking wrong. First impact at 2:54 p.m. High altitude group leader. SM-2 detonates 15 feet from cockpit. 200-pound warhead. continuous rod expanding warhead, designed to slice through aircraft. Su-30 disintegrates. $50 million fighter becomes falling debris in half a second. Pilot ejects. Parachute deploys at 31,000 feet. He'll survive. His aircraft won't. 3 seconds later, second high-altitude fighter. Direct hit. Missile enters right engine intake. Explodes inside fuselage. Su-30 becomes fireball. No ejection. Pilot doesn't have time. Third and fourth high-altitude jets break left. Too late. SM-2 missiles track. Both impacts within 2 seconds. 4 jets down in 11 seconds. Medium-altitude group fares no better. They dive. Emergency descent. Afterburners screaming. Dropping from 15,000 feet to 2,000 feet in 18 seconds. Physics works against them. SM-2 missiles adjust trajectory. First impact at 8,000 feet. Second, Su-30 explodes. Pilot ejects through fireball. Severe burns. He'll spend 8 months in hospital. Second missile catches its target at 4,000 feet. Third, at 2,200 feet. 3 more Venezuelan fighters destroyed. 1 pilot killed. 2 ejected. Low-altitude group sees devastation above. They're 200 feet off water, hugging waves. Radar ground clutter should hide them. Should confuse missiles. Doesn't work. Aegis system filters ground clutter. Tracks low flyers separately. SM-2 missiles descend. Sea skimming approach. First Venezuelan pilot sees white contrail. 4 seconds from impact. He brakes hard right. 9G turn. Su-30 can handle it. Missile handles it better. Impact amidships. Aircraft cartwheels into Caribbean. Explosion visible for 40 miles. 8th Venezuelan jet tries different tactic. Releases chaff. Metallic strips flood air. Confuse radar. Works against older systems, not against Aegis. SM-2 tracks through chaff cloud. Hits Su-30's left wing route. Wing separates. Fighter spins into ocean. Pilot ejects at 180 feet. Dangerous altitude. Parachute barely deploys. He hits water hard. Broken ribs. Punctured lung. Venezuelan Navy rescues him 40 minutes later. 4 minutes since first launch. 8 Venezuelan fighters destroyed. 4 remain. They're 28 miles out. Running. Afterburners full. Heading back to Venezuelan airspace at supersonic speed. Mitchell could engage. 4 SM-2 missiles remain assigned. Firing solution locked. She holds fire. 8 kills prove the point. 4 survivors carry the message. What would you have done when those last 4 jets ran? Pursue or let them go? Comment your answer below. Venezuelan Air Force loses 8 Su-30s. Total value $400 million. 5 pilots killed, 3 injured. Worst single-day loss in Venezuelan Air Force history. USS Nitze fires 12 missiles. Cost $36 million in ordnance. 0 damage to destroyer, 0 casualties. Entire engagement, 4 minutes 17 seconds. Most lopsided air-naval engagement since Falklands War. International reaction comes fast. Venezuelan president calls emergency session. Claims American aggression. Demands UN investigation. But AIS data doesn't lie. Nitze's position, international waters. Full compliance with maritime law. Even Russia, Venezuela's primary arms supplier, stays quiet. They don't defend the indefensible. China issues standard statement, calls for restraint. But privately, Chinese military analysts study footage. They take notes. This is what happens when you test American destroyers. The tactical breakdown reveals Venezuelan mistakes. First, underestimating Aegis system capabilities. Su-30 pilots trained against older air defense systems, S-300s, S-400s, ground-based radars. They never faced naval Aegis. It's different beast, tracks more targets, engages faster, doesn't miss. Second mistake, maintaining formation after missile launch. Spreading out might have saved lives. Chaff and flares might have confused some missiles. Instead, they flew predictable paths, made SM-2's job easy. Third mistake, thinking Americans wouldn't shoot, betting on hesitation, political concerns, fear of escalation. That calculation worked before, not anymore. Pacific Fleet's rule change came after years of provocation, Chinese jets buzzing destroyers, Iranian boats swarming carriers, Russian bombers testing airspace. Pentagon decided, hostile action meets instant response. Venezuela learned this lesson at $400 million cost. USS Nitze's performance showcases American naval superiority. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer represents 40 years of continuous development. Each ship costs $1.8 billion. That price buys unmatched capability. Aegis system tracks 100+ targets simultaneously, engages 20+ threats at once. SM-2 missiles hit targets 90 miles away. Future SM-6 variants reach 250 miles. No air force on Earth can overwhelm this system with conventional fighters. The destroyer's crew trained for this scenario. Monthly drills, simulated attacks, computer war games. When real threat appeared, they executed perfectly. Radar operators identified targets immediately. Weapons officers calculated solutions in seconds. Commander made decision without hesitation. Missiles launched with precision. Every system worked as designed. This is what $700 billion annual defense budget produces. Venezuelan Air Force faces difficult questions. How do they explain losing 8 fighters to 0 American casualties? How do they justify attacking warship in international waters? How do they rebuild? Russia sells Su-30s for $50 million each, $400 million replacement cost. Venezuelan military budget, $2 billion annually. This engagement cost 20% of yearly spending. For what? Making point? Testing Americans? The math doesn't work. If you're enjoying this deep dive into modern naval warfare, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Surviving Venezuelan pilots tell sobering story. They describe watching missiles emerge from destroyer, white smoke trails, climbing, turning, accelerating, then impacts, fireballs, friends dying, aircraft exploding, all in 4 minutes. They describe helplessness. Su-30s carry sophisticated countermeasures, electronic warfare pods, chaff dispensers, flare launchers. Nothing worked. Aegis system burned through everything. SM-2 missiles tracked through every defensive measure. The survivors land at La Carlota Air Base in Caracas. They're debriefed for 6 hours. Military intelligence wants every detail. How did Aegis perform? How fast did missiles launch? What countermeasures failed? Why? One surviving pilot's testimony becomes classified. He describes moment he got missile lock on Nitze, his R-77 ready, target locked, finger on trigger. He's 2 seconds from launching. Then his radar warning receiver explodes with alerts. SM-2 inbound. 18 seconds to impact. He forgets about attacking destroyer. He's fighting for life, braking hard, diving, deploying everything. Missile tracks through it all. He watches it close. White contrail, growing larger. He ejects at 2,200 feet, lands in ocean, watches his $50 million fighter sink. The destroyer never even knew he had weapons lock. This kind of detailed tactical breakdown takes hours to research. Subscribe to help us keep making them. Regional implications spread quickly. Colombian Navy takes notes. They operate in same waters. They watch what happens when you challenge American warship. They adjust procedures accordingly. Brazilian Air Force updates training. They add module, engaging Aegis-equipped ships. Conclusion: don't. Cuban military reviews footage. They haven't challenged US Navy in decades. This confirms why. Even Nicaragua, Venezuela's ally, issues statement. They support Venezuelan sovereignty, but they're not defending the military action. Message is clear. Learn from this. U.S. Navy uses engagement as case study. Naval War College analyzes every second. What worked? What could improve? Verdict: textbook execution. Commander Mitchell's decision-making becomes model. Wait for hostile act. Confirm threat. Respond decisively. Her career benefits. She's promoted to captain 8 months later. Given command of USS Porter. Another Arleigh Burke destroyer. The Navy rewards competence. Global arms market shifts. Countries operating Su-30s ask questions. Can these fighters survive against modern naval defenses? Russia's export sales take hit. Potential buyers reconsider. If 12 Su-30s can't threaten one destroyer, what's the point? Russia responds with propaganda. Claims Venezuelan pilots poorly trained. Claims fighters weren't upgraded. Claims they lacked proper electronic warfare systems. May be true. Doesn't change outcome. 8 Russian-built fighters destroyed in 4 minutes. American defense contractors celebrate quietly. Raytheon builds SM-2 missiles. Lockheed Martin produces Aegis system. Real-world performance proves their technology works. Export orders increase. Australia orders 200 additional SM-2s. Japan requests Aegis system upgrades. South Korea accelerates destroyer program. Nothing sells weapons like combat success. Venezuela's $400 million loss becomes billions in American arms sales. Was this engagement a defensive necessity or excessive force? Leave your thoughts in the comments. The Caribbean remains tense. Venezuelan Air Force doesn't challenge U.S. ships again, but they maintain patrols, keep radar active, track American vessels. They just don't get close. 50-mile buffer becomes unofficial rule. Venezuelan fighters stay outside SM-2 range. Smart move. USS Nitze completes patrol. Returns to Norfolk Naval Base June 3rd. Crew receives commendations. Ship undergoes maintenance. Vertical launch cells reloaded. 12 new SM-2 missiles replace ones fired. Cost: $36 million. Petty cash for U.S. Navy. They fire $36 million in missiles at training exercises quarterly. Pentagon releases official statement 48 hours after engagement. Confirms Venezuelan fighters approached warship. Confirms hostile weapons locks. Confirms defensive response. Justifies every action under international law. UN holds emergency meeting. Venezuela demands sanctions against America. Vote fails. 12-3. Even countries skeptical of U.S. power can't defend Venezuela's actions. When you surround warship in international waters, you accept consequences. This engagement proves fundamental truth. American naval power remains unmatched. No regional power can challenge U.S. destroyer. Not with fighters, not with missiles, not with numbers. The technology gap is too wide. Aegis system sees everything. SM-2 missiles hit everything. Trained crews execute flawlessly. This combination proves unbeatable. Venezuelan Air Force learned this. Cost them $400 million and 5 pilots. Others watching learn without paying that price. Your engagement directly shapes what we cover next. Drop a comment and subscribe. Modern warfare isn't about courage, it's about capability. Venezuelan pilots showed courage. They faced American destroyer. They maintained formation under fire. They followed orders. But courage doesn't stop Mach 3.5 missiles. Training doesn't defeat Aegis radar. Determination doesn't matter when technology gap this wide. This is reality of 21st century naval warfare. America spent 70 years and trillions of dollars building this advantage. Regional powers can't match it. They can only avoid it. USS Nitze's message echoes across Caribbean, across Atlantic. across Pacific. Don't test American warships. Don't crowd them. Don't lock weapons on them. Freedom of navigation isn't negotiable. International waters aren't your territory. Challenge will meet response. Swift, precise, overwhelming. Venezuela learned. Others should too. The alternative costs $400 million. If you're lucky. If you're not, it costs lives. The destroyer continues patrols. Caribbean, Mediterranean, South China Sea, wherever international law permits, wherever American interests require, with 96 vertical launch cells, with Aegis system active, with trained crew ready. Because freedom of navigation matters, because international law matters, because someone must enforce both. That someone carries 9,200 tons, flies American flag, and doesn't back down. If you made it this far, you're the core of our community. Hit subscribe, smash that like button, ring the bell for notifications, share this breakdown with anyone who thinks challenging American naval power is good idea. Comment below, what should Venezuela do now? How should they rebuild? What lessons apply to other nations? Your insights drive our next analysis. This is Navy Force USA, where we break down modern warfare, where we show what happens when theory meets reality, where we prove American naval dominance isn't propaganda, it's physics, it's technology, it's training, and it's unmatched.